Just the way it goes. Just the way it goes. The greatest.
Sadistic Penguin Studios presents It's Getting Drafty in Here.
Drafty old barn.
The show of drafting random nonsense.
I choose business ethics.
And now, coming to you from his basement, a.k.a. Draft Headquarters, your host and draft master, Magnificent Stan.
Hello, welcome to episode 37 of It's Getting Drafty in Here. I am your host, Magnificent Stan, otherwise known as Brian. Today is Sunday, special Sunday episode, February 18th, 2024. And right now we are on the road to WrestleMania, so I thought we'd pop in and do a little bit of wrestling here. Tonight we are going to be drafting what we deem as the worst gimmicks, or if you know, non-wrestling fans don't know what that means, worst characters in the history of professional wrestling. Joining me today is fellow Sadistic Penguin member, Comic Punk Guy. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
I am good. I'm good. Also joining us from the Chicago Sports Bums, well, maybe it's Randy Macho Man Savage. Are you the cream of the crop?
Oh, yeah.
It's our buddy, Dougie Fresh. How you doing, Dougie?
What's going on, dude? Thanks for having me.
I'm going to steal those glasses next time I see you.
Yeah, dude, it's hard to see out of, but I'm rocking them the entire episode.
I know. You're not gonna be able to see your list.
No,
you're just gonna pick Leaping Lanny Poffo for everything. Going with my brother. Also joining us,
over, baby.
Right. Also joining us for his. I don't know. You've been on like 5-6 times now, haven't you?
I think this is the 5th. I think, yeah.
Our guy Shankster. What's going on, buddy?
Not too much, man. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah. You and I actually devised this initially and kind of expanded upon it. We do have categories today. Initially, we weren't going to do categories and just pick worst overall gimmicks, but it just seems too much. It seems like too much fun to categorize. So, just briefly go over the 5 categories. We have the worst overall gimmick, worst overall character, worst professional gimmick. So, a character that's based on a profession. Example, the Big Boss Man was a police officer. So, sorry if I ruined a pick. Worst gimmick that worked. So a terrible gimmick that for some reason the fans resonated with and it got over and it made them money. So, we also have worst gimmick match. So a match that has some special type of stipulation or some type of, whatever. And then finally, this is one that Shankster and I came up with. Ed Leslie gimmick. For those of you that don't know who Ed Leslie is, if you're a fan of 1980s and 90s professional wrestling, he was Brutus the Barber Beefcake. After his run with the WWF, he went to WCW because he was Hulk Hogan's best friend, basically followed him to the WCW. And they just kept giving him character after character after character and just went over and over and over again. So we'll discuss Ed Leslie a little bit tonight and individually pick our favorite of the many faces of Leslie. So, so let's get started. Shankster won the lottery. So let's go Shankster. And real quick, I'm sorry, Tony, you said love the colors. I decided because I feel like a lot of our characters that we're going to discuss tonight were from WCW. Those are the old school WCW colors. So I'm not a Lakers fan, I promise. All right, Shankster.
All right. So mine, like you and I talked about it, but we went back and forth on it. And At the time, I don't think it was. I mean, there was elements that were bad, but I think retroactively, it's probably one of the worst. And I'm going to go with the Mr. McMahon gimmick.
Okay.
Yeah, topical.
Just
Who'd have thunk he'd actually be like a real monster?
yeah, and it's just like I said, more retroactively on this one. But I mean, you know, obviously the early part of it isn't so bad, but then as it got more away from just him and Austin, it just got way worse and almost like life imitating art. Now it wasn't even a gimmick
For real.
Man, there were certain things that came out over the years that he wanted to implement into his character as well, and I'll just example. He wanted to run a angle where his daughter got pregnant, and turned out that he was the father of the child. Yeah. So that's a really bad idea.
Yeah.
Wow. A little wild.
See, I would argue that it's a terrible gimmick, but he was probably the best heel in the history of the business.
Probably, yeah. It's just, you know, and like I said, I was kind of on the fence about it. I'm like, it's just, you look back with just some of the shit now with, you know, this is like with Trish or with any of them, and just like, it's like, damn, it's just like, it's gotten, just like you said, just kind of came full circle with it. It's like he wasn't actually playing a character even.
Yeah. So for those of you that aren't wrestling fans, just real quick, I'll briefly summarize Mr. McMahon. So Vince McMahon, owner of the WWF, WWE, whatever you want to call it, kind of went rogue over the years and became kind of like the evil mastermind of the company, and was trying to pull strings at all times and hold the leverage, and he did some pretty terrible things. And it kind of like the art kind of with reality too, in that he was like really creepy with women on TV, and apparently
yeah, you really got to wonder like how much of that was even a gimmick, you know? It's just I don't know. Or is it one of those deals where like he just falls so much into the role that like that's just how he starts living life, you know? Like, I mean, you hear about some of these wrestlers that just can't let it go, like when they're off screen,
right, and
just keep going with it. And I don't know.
You're on the road all year round, and it does something to your fucking head, man. I mean, and these guys don't get a break, and I'm not definitely not saying
an apologist,
right? Not at all, but you know, but yeah, some of those guys really. I mean, look at guys like remember Ken Patero was like throwing boulders through McDonald's windows because they wouldn't give him a cheeseburger. Like these guys were just roided up. They were full of aggression because that was their job, and you know,
dude, I thought there for a second you were going to hit us like with the wooden bleachers in the gym or whatever. It's still real to me, damn it. I thought you were going to start crying on us there for a minute.
I might. I'm not there yet, though.
Yeah, we'll get
I reserve the right to cry at some point, though.
Okay.
Fair enough.
All right.
One of my Ric Flair. Can't get to a promo without crying for like 15 years. All right, Dougie. That was a good pick, Shankster.
Yeah, it was. Was kind of out of left field, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really think about that.
And he warned us about that too in our group beforehand.
He sure did.
Yeah,
he sure did. So for my first one, I am going to go with worst gimmick that got over, and I would like to thank the lazy people that I work with who didn't mail Brian his birthday gift, because I have it right here.
Oh no!
It's Magnifico Stan as worst gimmick that got left. No, I'm just kidding. But this is really the birthday gift that I got you. It is a engraved mug with your face on it that says El Magnifico Stan on it.
Oh my Lord. That's amazing. Yeah. Thank you.
But
I'll drink Malort out of it just for you.
There you go. Gimmick that got over, in my opinion. There is nothing bigger than this. And it started off so terribly. The New Day. The New Day started off as preachers or, fathers or whatever they were going to do. And the promos were probably the worst promos leading up to like a function reveal ever. And I thought to myself,
and
oh my God, dude, I kept every time I was watching it, I'm like, there is no way this goes on for any more than a month, maybe 2 months. And my God, they got over. And I feel like they are the biggest get over in possibly wrestling history.
They're one of the best. They're one of the best tag teams ever. And yeah, it took a long time for the fans to really kind of buy into it.
Yeah, it shouldn't have worked the way, like you said, the way it started. Because wasn't it just Woods? It was Woods who came out, right? Who kind of was getting them started with it, wasn't it?
No, it was.
It was a whole bunch of promo videos. And they were terrible.
But yeah, it shouldn't have gotten over.
There was. I remember the promos leading up. It had started with Xavier Woods, and there was no trombone. There wasn't anything from what I remember. And he was like this Baptist preacher like gimmick with like a choir behind him, and it was like probably super offensive when it first started. And then the second promo was Big E with the handkerchief, and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And then the third one started with Kofi Kingston moonwalking onto the stage, and I was like, this is nuts. But if it wasn't for like Xavier Woods saying that like I can get people to boo Kofi Kingston if you let me run with this still, and they let him do it, and it turned into what it is now.
Yeah. No,
it got huge, man. They were that. What do they still have the record for longest run?
Didn't the Usos beat it or no?
Did the Usos beat? I don't remember.
I think the Usos did eventually beat it, but I mean, just from a standpoint of something that should have like absolutely fell on its face, easily 1-1 for me.
Yeah, because then you got what, 2 world champions?
I didn't even think about it.
2 world champions out of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And hopefully Big E will be back at some point.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see what happens with that. But even if he doesn't, that guy is useful as hell. They can do something with him,
It was great at the press conference for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great dude. I don't know if you've ever read the stuff about when Brody was dying. Like him and Cody like dropped their lives and like stayed with Brody's kid for days on end, taking care of him, distracting him from what's going on around him as Brody passed away. But yeah, just a tremendous dude. Tremendous. All of them are great. Xavier is such a freaking nerd. I love it.
Oh yeah.
He was kind of instrumental in starting that whole like everybody has a Twitch channel, and he was doing that before any of them.
Yeah, up, down, down.
Yeah. All right, that's a fantastic pick, Dougie. Good job, man.
Thank you.
CPG.
I'll start with the worst gimmick match. And I will say Brawl for All is the dumbest, stupidest fucking idea that anyone's ever had. And Vince Russo can go fuck himself for putting that whole thing together.
Well done to
poor Steve Williams and poor Bart Gunn and anyone
all
involved.
Of them. Yeah.
Had to go through any of that.
Yeah, isn't it? But it was all done just to was it get JBL?
Yep.
Right? Was that just because JBL?
No, the whole thing was to get
Dr. Death.
Yeah, to get Dr. Death over because they didn't think anybody had a chance of beating Dr. Death, and then it's like Dr. Death's like, I'm not a fucking boxer.
Yeah,
I think they were expecting people to shoot more, but they're wearing fucking boxing gloves. Like the whole thing was for those that don't know what this is, the WWF in what was it? Probably 98, something like that, 97.
It was 98. Yeah,
98. They tried to show the fans how tough these guys were by staging legitimate fights. And Bart Gunn, who had the best right cross ever, just knocked everybody out. And then to punish him for beating the guys that they were trying to get over by doing this, they had him go up against Butterbean at WrestleMania, and that was the most disturbing boxing match. It's like watching Johnny Knoxville get pounded in the J.C. Penney. Remember that?
Yeah.
Pretty much that.
No, it was disturbing. The weird part was like as a kid, so like back in those times or whatever, I collected the action figures a lot. And you can tell, like, just by the lines that were coming out, Dr. Death was supposed to be like a major, major player, because all of a sudden all these action figures, which action figures back in the day, they would take like better parts of, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months to come across. And all of a sudden these Dr. Death figures start coming out, and you're like, he just got knocked out. What do I care about him? Like he's a nobody now, and it was like every time you would go to like Toys R Us, KB Toys, shout out KB Toys, RIP.
Yeah, they used to always have the discount bin, like $3 figures. Oh yeah, I remember that shit. Yeah.
Dude, that's all it was, dude. We were calling it, me and my buddies were calling it the Dr. Death bin, because that's all it was in there was Dr. Death stuff. It was brutal. I don't know.
Yeah, they only did it once. They never did it again. There's an episode of Beyond the Dark Side of the, what is it? Dark Side of the Ring? Yeah.
Dark Side of the Ring.
There's an episode of Dark Side of the Ring that's really good. It's all about this and how fucking stupid the whole thing was. So
Vince Russo, man, I fucking hate that guy.
See, the thing with Vince Russo, WWF though, like he didn't get to do everything he wanted to do. You know what I mean? Like he had that, like, that was the difference between him and WWF and WCW, is like he had no filter in WCW. Like WWF, like somebody higher up had to have been like, "Oh, that's a fucking great idea." Like I'm thinking like Pat Patterson's like, "You did a good thing, pal," But yeah, Vince Russo sucks. He just continually gets worse and worse as we go on. Vince was his filter.
That's scary thought.
Yeah,
It's frightening.
It's not a good one to have.
All right, I'm going to go worst overall gimmick with my first round pick. I had a couple in the running, and I always think, when I think the worst parts of professional wrestling, actually my two picks are going to, my sandwich picks are actually going to be related.
Okay.
When I think of the Dungeon of Doom was the worst thing in the history of wrestling. Hulk Hogan against the Dungeon of Doom with whoever Kevin Sullivan called his father, and which is like King Curtis. So it's like a wrestler from the 70s. He was also Kamala's manager for a while at some point in the 80s, but they just kept bringing in these characters over and over and over again. The only one that really stuck was the Giant, which was Paul White, which, I mean, guy's a beast, but they kept bringing in all these guys. And then they challenged him. The Dungeon of Doom and the Four Horsemen challenged Hulk Hogan and Macho Man to the, what was the name of that match? Fucking A. It was like the triple cage match, like Doomsday Cage. That's what they call it. Doomsday Cage, where there were 3 cages, one on top of the other, and Hulk Hogan and Macho Man started the top cage. They have to beat 2 people, go to the next cage, beat 2 people, go to the next cage, beat 2 people. And one of the characters that they brought in, the wrestler's name was Jeep Swenson. Who, if you don't know who he is, he was actually he played Bane in which one's the Batman one? Batman and Robin. So this is Jeep Swenson. They brought him and, if you remember, Zeus in, but they didn't have the rights to Zeus, so they called him Z Gangster. But this is Jeep Swenson. Now, I haven't said his name yet because it's the most offensive fucking name in the history of professional wrestling. They called this guy the Ultimate Solution. Now, any history buffs, do you know what the Ultimate Solution was? That was the Nazis. The Nazis plan to kill the Jews was the ultimate solution. So I'm going Ultimate Solution as my first pick and the worst gimmick in the history of wrestling. So, again, this guy had the biggest arms I've ever seen in my life, by the way. And if you watch the Batman movie, like, you know, this guy's just a monster. But he couldn't move at all. He was terrible in the ring. They built it up that this guy was going to kill Hulkamania, and the guy couldn't even throw a punch. Like, Hulk Hogan was twice as fast as this guy, and Hulk Hogan is not fast. So
I don't really remember him from that. I remember him as Jeep Swenson from the world class days.
Yeah, and he used to dress up like Sergeant
Rambo.
Slaughter, basically. Yeah.
That and was it Bulletproof? He was in that Adam Sandler in Bulletproof. He was Bledsoe.
I remember that. Anyway, to transition into my next pick, I already mentioned it, but this is the stupidest fucking match ever. What the hell is that? So there was one, and then there's two cages in the middle part, and then there's a cage at the bottom. And they had to wrestle. Hulk Hogan and Macho Man had to wrestle like 15 fucking guys. And it made absolutely no sense. There was no actual end to the match. Like somebody broke the door off of the cage, and they ended up wrestling in the crowd and in the. It was just god awful. So I'm gonna go Doomsday Cage as my gimmick match. And they were the Alliance to End Hulkamania. That was their name. That's what it was called.
I was going to say, these type of matches are when you start promising talent that they're going to get a paycheck and you have to just absolutely use everybody. These are the type of matches where they use absolutely everybody just for no fucking reason, man. Just brutal match.
Just rough. And they had no idea how to write. They brought Hogan in. I think they just let Hogan do whatever he wanted, and Hogan would come up with an idea, and they're like, "Great idea, Hulk! Let's do it."
Creative control. That's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
Whenever Eric Bischoff talks about how wrestling these days don't do it right, like I think of shit like this because this was on his fucking call here. He was in charge when this shit happened. So
Didn't they kind of do the same thing after Ready to Rumble came out? Like a triple cage or something.
Yeah,
similar?
but the top cage was like really small, and there was like a ladder on top or something like that. Yeah, but that's when David Arquette won the championship. Yes, the actor
nice.
David Arquette was the world wrestling champion, heavyweight champion.
What was this like a Starrcade pay-per-view this was on, or like a Halloween Havoc, or what was this on?
It was a big pay-per-view. I don't remember which one it was, but yeah, just the dumbest shit ever. Escape room. All right, comic punk guy. Let's go round two here.
Let's go with worst or a gimmick that got over that shouldn't have.
Yep.
Orange Cassidy.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's on my list.
that was on mine.
Orange Cassidy is by far the most absurd thing, and it's very, very, very boring at times. But man, has the kind of new focus in the last 10 years or so on the indie scene, plus AEW and everything else really getting him over. I don't think a guy like Orange Cassidy gets over without current day like social media, internet type of stuff, because it's like literally people who don't know anything about wrestling or don't watch wrestling are like, you got to see this guy. This guy wrestles with his hands in his pockets, or he just falls asleep mid-match, or he never does anything with any sort of effort. Can't even lift his thumb for a thumbs up.
And that's the funny part. When you say without any effort, that guy puts so much fucking effort into wrestling. That's the funny part. Is the whole character? He's supposed to be just like a lackadaisical like whatever guy, but that guy can move better than 99% of the talent in the world. You know.
Yep.
But yeah, that's number one on my list for that category. So good job on that. Yeah, I don't know. He continues to get over like
he's carrying a mid-card championship around in a backpack, in a JV Sport backpack or a J Sport backpack or whatever. And like this is a title that should be on TV that you can see, and you see it for all of 5 seconds because
he has it
out of the bag and very quickly back into the bag. And that's a way to really build prestige, to keep your TV title off fucking TV.
And for those of you that have watched when CPG and I were doing playback every week for Dynamite, this is something him and I both bitched about every week. Like, oh, here comes a fucking backpack again.
I don't think I saw him before he was on AEW, and then like with the kicks and everybody into it, I'm like, what the fuck is this? It just like I'm like I can't believe this fucking guy's over. Like
he sold that character even more on the indies before he got to AEW. He didn't really move around a whole lot. Like like he showed off his chops a lot more when he got to AEW. Because like if you watch his old indie stuff, like the stuff with the pockets and rolling around, like he did that 10 times more.
Okay.
But yeah, tremendous dude in the ring.
Hell yeah. Whew. Man, I got a decision to make here.
Macho Man, worst overall gimmick.
How dare you?
Snap into a Slim Jim? Did you know that wasn't created by the Macho Man? Oh my God, you have a Slim Jim. Jesus Christ.
See,
Hey, if you're going to sell it, you got to sell all the way, baby.
That's how you get a gimmick over right there. 100%.
Fucking Slim Jims.
A little pre-draft snack. So I'm going to go professional gimmick. Worst professional gimmick. And I am going to go with the Goon. The Goon, the reason why he was so bad was the fake skates that they made him wear in the ring. They were absolutely terrible.
They were really
He couldn't run in them. He couldn't run in them. He couldn't do hardly anything with them. I actually went to Montgomery Ward's. And when I went to Montgomery Ward's to like his autograph signing, he actually wore those. And you wouldn't believe how terrible they are to walk in. I mean, they were unevenly shaped at the bottom to try and replicate skates. And how this dude didn't like twist his ankle or, blow out a knee or something like that is beyond me. But by far, in my opinion, worst professional gimmick because of just the attire alone.
Well, and he was actually a very, very good professional wrestler for many, many years as Wild Bill Irwin.
World class,
WCW,
right?
World class. He was Stan Hansen's partner in Japan for a long time. Like just a good guy in the ring, and then they bring him in and give him this. No,
it's
one of my favorite. I started collecting wrestling figures a few years ago, and that's one of my favorite ones that I have. I have the Goon. So
hell yeah!
Shout out to Mattel because they take these really random characters and they still release figures with them. So
yeah, but I beg anybody that hasn't heard of the Goon, go watch and how difficult it was for this dude just to run in the ring and everything like that. Yep. I beg you, just go on YouTube and check it out.
Back in my photographer days, I used to see people running around because I used to work a lot of ice rinks, a lot of figure skating shows and stuff like that. And like watching these people run around with the blade guards on, like, I don't know how the hell they like just skating period to me is like almost impossible. But like watching them put these little plastic or rubber things on their skates and then run around in them. And it's like, what the fuck? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a good one. Definitely was on my list. That's why I have a picture.
Especially like the Howard Finkel entrance for him, dragging it out. Goon.
Goon. Howard Finkel. Howard Finkel came up with the name WrestleMania.
I believe that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, Vince had another idea. I can't remember what it was called, but it was terrible. And Howard Finkel was like, "Why don't we just call it WrestleMania?" And they're like, "Oh my god!"
Probably never saw a dime of that money then either. I'm sure.
Okay. Rest in peace, Howard Finkel. All right, Shankster, what do you got? You got two here.
All right, I'm gonna go match. We're gonna go back to one of. I think this was a Vince Russo idea. The Judy Bagwell on a pole match. If you ever want to know why WCW had to sell, this is in the days with.
We have to explain this to people that don't know.
Yeah,
we
definitely have to.
Yeah,
it was Rick Steiner and Buff, right? If I remember right. But the wrestling has had a pole like a coal miner's glove, a flag match. Something you got to climb up to the top rope, grab it off.
Yeah, chain on a pole. Yeah, all kinds of like. Usually it was a weapon that was on
Yeah,
top
but you
of the
could-
pole,
once you
or,
grab it, you
or
could
if it
use
was
it.
a flag match, they'd put a flag
Yeah.
on, and you have to get your opponent's flag. Yeah.
So you couldn't put a person on a pole, so they brought her down on a fork strapped to a forklift raised up.
So bad.
You know, to
And just to explain, Judy Bagwell is like the 70-year-old mom of Buff Bagwell. She had no wrestling background. She was just some old lady. Like that's all she was. Like some old like hillbilly woman from I think it was Alabama or Georgia, whatever.
Georgia. Yeah, and I think she got into it because when Buff hurt his neck, and then she was wheeling him out in the wheelchair, and yeah.
So yeah, they put her on a pole. Well, they put her on a forklift. They had a couple of pole matches in that era. Remember Oklahoma, which was Ed Ferrara did a horrible Jim Ross impersonation.
Yeah.
I had to explain that one to Brandy the other day, and she's like, "What? They were making fun of his disability?" Oh yeah.
Bad. If you want something funny though, go watch Steve Williams, Dr. Death come to the ring and start German suplex in Oklahoma, and just brutal.
Well, so Dr. Death didn't want to do it because they were bringing him in specifically to be Oklahoma's sidekick. Dr. Death was one of Jim Ross's best friends from Oklahoma. Yeah. So he called Jim Ross, and Jim's like, "Yeah, go ahead and do it, man. Get your money, man. Like, fuck it, I don't care." That shit's great.
Shit.
But yeah, so with Oklahoma, they had a pinata match. Remember, they had pinata on a pole. As if that wasn't racist when you have Juventud Guerrera trying to get a pinata on a pole. And keep in mind, this is like the early 2000s. This wasn't like 1982. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, this is 20 years ago. You weren't supposed to do shit like that. What the fucking wrestling.
Should have known better.
Right, exactly. All right, Shankster.
All right. I'm going to go with the worst gimmick that worked. And we were talking about this before we came on about it's all about commitment of the person to the gimmick. And I don't know if anybody else could have gotten it over the way he did, but Goldust.
Yep. God, Goldust and Orange Cassidy were my 1 and 2.
It's just his commitment through almost 20 years of that, and the changes, when they kind of changed it. And I mean, basically his direction was when Vince called him was he's androgynous. And Dustin's just like, all right, yeah, I'll do it. And then he went and looked up what androgynous meant. And then he's like, oh, but 100% committed to that gimmick for the life of it, and got it over to where, just still to this day could come out. You could hear that music and it'd get a pop.
Mm-hmm.
He was good on both ends. He was a good heel and a good face. He did really well with that gimmick. He didn't do as well with 7.
Yeah. This just killed the character in its debut by just
its debut same night.
Yeah. In the debut he ripped the mask off. He goes, "This ain't me." Like, what the?
But he had the it evolved from when he was with Luna, and it changed to the with the the women's lingerie he had on her. Then the he's coming, and like you ever thought it was a religious gimmick, and it was just a return of Goldust. So the character evolved over the years, and he kept it, still basically the same, but it had layers to it. So
yeah.
Dude, do you remember him? He got electrocuted, and then he had a stutter
with Booker T, right?
Yeah.
And it was I think it was Tori Wilson or someone had done Playboy, and he's sitting there with the Playboy open, and like Booker T takes it away from him. He's like, "What are you doing with that?" He's just like, "Boobies."
Yeah.
There's a segment where he's standing on the toilet. Have you ever seen that?
I think
they open up the I think it's Booker T actually. He opens up the stall for the toilet, and he's standing on the toilet seat in his bare feet.
Oh my god!
And he slips, and both of his feet go in the toilet water, and everyone's like, "Oh god!" And then he got out and he started walking around, and you're like, "Oh, what the fuck?"
Him dressed as Benjamin Franklin or Darth Vader every other week.
He had the talking. I think it was when after he'd been electrocuted, when he was in the ring with Triple H, talking about the cockles. We couldn't have just said cock like 4 times before he got it out.
It's so good.
Oh shit!
All right, Dougie.
All right. So I'm going to go with my worst Ed gimmick. And this one I was kind of really, man, I was throwing it up between two of them, but I have to go with Running Man. It's basically just him running into matches with like a full-size cheese grater on his chest for no reason.
And he only did it for like a month, right? Like,
yeah,
nothing was ever on
served
TV even.
That's what I'm saying. It didn't serve any purpose at all.
Yeah.
Like there was no explanation for anything. And then like as fast as he came in was as fast as he went out, and it was just done. It was.
He would just run in the middle of the match, beat the shit out of someone, and leave. That was it.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's it. That's it.
I forgot it existed until I watched one of those. I was watching a YouTube video of like the top 100 gimmicks or whatever, worst gimmicks, and then yeah, they started talking about that one. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah. But yeah, you got to check it out, man. I mean, it's just like a giant. I don't even. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just looks like a giant cheese grater.
Let me see if I can get a.
I think it was the same thing he had on his chest when he was another like a. It was when it was after he had the real life.
Yeah.
Or I thought that was the Mariner or Mariner or whatever. Because that was after he had that terrible accident, and they didn't know whether or not his face could take the punishment of like pro wrestling. So he's in a really heavy like mask, and no one even knew it was him.
Was this WWF?
Yeah, it was.
Really?
Yeah, it was right. It was right after he healed from the parasailing thing. It was like before Hogan came back, and he teamed with Hogan at what, WrestleMania 9? Yeah. So it was in between that. It was between Barber and WrestleMania 9. But yeah, what exactly is this on his fucking like what? Like what is it?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like copper piping or something. I don't know.
Is that like
I guarantee
you? Is that like rope?
It's like rope through like a grill grate.
Dude, here's the thing. If you went down to the Mag Mile right now, I bet you could find something like that for about $2,000. You know, like some woman is wearing that. Like definitely 100%, dude. 100% designer purse nowadays, dude.
All right, I wasn't expecting Running Man. It gives us more options for Ed Leslie gimmicks. Like, good
didn't even
job.
bring that one up. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to go obscure, a little bit obscure.
That's very obscure.
That's like, I mean, has there ever been a worse, I guess, for lack of a better word, nepotism guy and higher in wrestling than Brutus that lasted as long as he did because who he's best friends with?
That would have been a good category.
I really liked him growing up as Brutus Beefcake before he became the Barber. Like he was a good heel. Like he basically was a stripper. Like that's pretty much what he was.
Oh man.
Jack's drunk.
Attaboy.
All right, CPG.
I think for Ed Leslie gimmicks, I'm gonna go with like the absolute untapped potential you could have had with the Disciple, because it's so bad. They bring him in as Hulk Hogan's disciple. He's dressing like Hogan. He's tanned like Hogan. He's got the beard. He's got everything. And Ed Leslie is probably in the best shape of his life during that point, and they did nothing with him at all.
Yeah.
And they couldn't just. It was so blatantly like. It's the only time in his career, save for any time he's wearing a mask or maybe like anything else he did to cover his face, like the face paint or whatever, where this was the one time where like you couldn't tell it was him because
you couldn't
that good a shape.
He'd slimmed down. I mean, he got cut, but he slimmed down.
Yeah,
I watched a shoot interview with Greg the Hammer Valentine. By the way, those are hilarious. He does not hold back. Like he's pretty real. But he was talking about because he lives like down the street from Brutus, and they've been best friends, or not best friends, but like really good friends since they were a tag team in the 80s, you know. And he said that Beefcake lost like 75 pounds to play the disciple. Like he was under 200 pounds when he was the disciple.
Damn.
So. And for those
of
you
I
that
didn't even
don't...
I didn't even recognize him, man. I didn't even know it was him until like yeah.
You lost a lot of weight.
The NWO. You're just like, who is that? She always had the sunglasses and like the headband.
Yeah, because like when he takes the glass off, the eyes give it away, but everything about
absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
It's definitely the long hair and the beard. Like, I've been trying to do that myself, so I don't want to be noticeable. Just making that up.
What's that? Drop 75 pounds?
Oh, I could do that.
I'm trying, but these damn Slim Jims are so tasty.
There we go. Sorry. That was Tim. All right. That was a good one. Disciple was my number one for Ed Leslie. All right. I'm going to go worst professional gimmick. And I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about this guy because he's a total fucking scumbag. Okay. But worst professional gimmick of all time. For sure. Isaac Yankem, DDS.
Dr. I Yankem.
Yeah, one of the 19 things they did with Glenn Jacobs, who ended up being Kane, for those of you that don't know that.
That's not even his worst gimmick, though. I don't know if that's.
What are we talking about? Are we talking about the Christmas tree one?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. That or you
was that in one? Yeah, he was Unabomb. Yep, he was also Fake Diesel.
Yeah, Fake Diesel was pretty bad.
In WCW, he was Bruiser Mastino. he had some pretty bad ones. We could have done Unabomb. That's what. And then for those of you that don't know, I think it was
Christmas Creature.
Yeah, Christmas Creature was in Memphis, I think.
Yeah, Memphis. Yeah.
He basically dressed in a costume as a Christmas tree. He was a giant fucking Christmas tree. So, I'm gonna actually pull that one up.
Yeah.
You kind of people are like, oh, I got to see that, you know.
Dude, I think the whole costume was like $7. Like it's pretty terrible.
It's really bad. So there's the Christmas Creature.
Yeah. Oh my god!
They like the candy cane arms, and then the garland, and God bless wrestling.
Well, the WWE was on a tag team with him and Santa Claus.
Santa Claus, which was
tag team for that.
Yeah, that Brandy. Yeah, Brandy's right. We watched something the other day. His mom actually made the costume.
Oh.
Thank you, Brandy.
Couldn't tell.
All right, and then I'm gonna pick gimmick that worked. Here's the rub here.
Uh-oh.
This is the one I mentioned in the pre-show that I wasn't gonna pick, but you guys, I wanted Gold Dust and I wanted Orange Cassidy, and you guys took it. I'm gonna go. In 1990, a gentleman named Mark Calloway was signed by the WWE, and they gave him a character as an Undertaker. Think about the time and think about the character. That shit shouldn't have worked, but the guy was so fucking talented, and he had the right people around him, and he got 30 years out of a character as a literal dead person. So I'm going to go gimmick that worked, The Undertaker.
Shit.
You guys are
got me thinking tonight.
Yeah, it's good.
I wish I would have put that one in there, but you're right. Like I said, it's just his commitment completely to that.
And I didn't even think about it until I looked up. I was just researching and kind of dicking around on the internet, and I typed in, bad gimmicks that worked or fail, terrible gimmicks that work, and he's on every list. And I'm like, and then I started to think about it. I'm like, that really is a terrible idea. Like, absolutely awful. And you know what's funny is the original idea for him when he came in, and we talked about this in pre-show, instead of the gobbledygooker and the big egg, it was supposed to be him, and he was supposed to be the Eggman. So, I don't know how they would have presented that one, but that would have been awful.
Here we are, the Eggmen going 22-0 at WrestleMania.
Right, exactly. They could have come out to
the unbreakable Eggman.
They could have come out to the Beastie Boys song.
Unbreakable.
The bass line, boom, boom, boom.
You need to pull up a picture of Big Vis for Mailman Jack so we can see what he looked like in the pajamas. He was asking, Mailman was asking if there was a wrestler who wore pajamas. You gotta get the the big Vis in the pajamas.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Viscera was in the satin pajamas.
Yeah. Yeah, Big Daddy V.
I forgot about that one. Sure. It basically looks like he's wearing a fucking trash bag.
Dude, I'm saying the amount of fabric, dude.
Most dangerous wrestler ever, right there, man.
Yep.
Undertaker almost lost his eye because of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, for all the shit they put up the Undertaker against.
Yeah.
Him, Bundy.
He did the same thing to
Gonzalez.
Hogan. I mean, Hogan always bitched that he like literally had double and Hogan. I mean, Hogan always lies, but Hogan always said that King Kong Bundy almost lost his vision from King Kong Bundy kicking him in the head because Bundy was blind pretty much when he was out there in the ring. He didn't wear contacts, and whenever he kicked somebody, he didn't know his depth perception was all messed up.
That's actually what happened to Shawn Michaels, right? That's how he got his lazy eye. Yeah, It was a headshot.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like Kurt
I can't
Angle
remember who did that to him. Yeah,
was
I was
Kurt
gonna say
Angle.
I can't remember who did that. Okay.
And he doesn't blame anybody. He's like it shit happens. Like whatever.
Yeah.
1998, Shawn Michaels would have blamed somebody.
Oh yeah.
He would have said it was 19 soldiers that beat him up.
True.
I thought he would just blame Bret Hart.
He lost his smile that day too. So
He did.
Yeah. Oh shit.
CPG.
All right, so yeah, the worst profession gimmick. I mean, like, there's so many of those, and it's very, very hard to pick a professional like a profession gimmick like that's bad because there's so many of them. But I think between hey buddy, let's not do that. As very much as he wants me to. Is like nails. It's the most useless. Like not only is the gimmick bad, but the gimmick is in response to an even like worse gimmick, if not as bad gimmick. Nails was an escaped inmate from the jail that the Big Boss Man worked at, and he had made his way to the WWF to take out the Big Boss Man, and it was so stupid. And even after the confrontation between Nails and the Big Boss Man, he still stuck around, which didn't make any sense because he was only there to do one thing.
Yeah. Like Yumper said he choked Vince in a meeting.
He did. But hey, now that you think about it, he always said that Vince tried to sexually assault him. Maybe it happened.
Did you
You don't know anymore with this motherfucker.
Yeah, getting on heads.
It was all about money.
Yeah.
I watched a shoot interview with Smash, Barry Darsow. And they're like really good friends. He's like Nails is one of the nicest guys in the world if you don't fuck with his money. You fuck with his money and he's gonna kill you. Like straight. Like and he's apparently like a legit like that guy can fucking kill you.
Did you ever see his gimmick before when he was in AWA?
Yeah.
Was it Mr. Magnificent? Like Kevin Kelly, yeah. Kevin Kelly, yeah.
Which is funny because Kevin Kelly is an announcer now.
Yeah, I mean, but you look at Nails, you would never have thought that was the same guy from AWA.
Right. And he ran that gimmick. They gave him the gimmick to use on the indies and everything. And up until a handful of years ago, he was still showing up at fucking indie shows wearing a jumpsuit from prison. It's pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah.
All right. That's a good one. Being in prison is a profession.
Yeah.
I like it. They always like crime and punishment type of gimmicks and stuff because they had the Big Boss Man. They had the Mount. I'm sorry if I'm ruining your next pick.
No,
Shankster.
No, it wasn't.
The Big Boss Man got over. Why don't we do that with a Canadian?
Yeah.
Okay. He was the Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah.
I remember screaming, one of my screaming moments when watching wrestling when Piper beat him for the Intercontinental title.
Royal Rumble, 92?
Yeah, and then Brett beat him at Mania. All right, Dougie.
All right. I'm going back on the obscure. So I'm going for worst overall gimmick. Jim Neidhart as a KKK member.
Oh
I don't know
man,
if you
You
guys...
watched that video, didn't you? I never knew about it until last night.
Dude, no. I will tell you this. Was it in the video that you sent us?
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason why I know about it is because there is another video and I have to dig it up, and it's all about the hearts and all of the different terrible things, not terrible things that they've done, but like the terrible like wrestling gimmicks that they've had.
Yep.
And I watched this a long time ago. And yeah, dude, I was like,
it was an
even
indie?
at that moment. Yes, it was an indie. Yes.
Yeah.
But dude, there is no moment in time where during wrestling where that would be okay at all.
Legitimately had the whole get up.
Yeah, well, he came out to the ring with the and then he took it off, and him and another guy dressed in the full thing beat the shit out of Virgil.
Oh my god!
And then they hung him.
They hung Virgil.
They hung him over the rope.
it's awful.
Yes,
It's so bad.
Almost as controversy as like
Cowboy Bret Hart.
Yeah, the only thing that I could think of that was more like controversial was Sandman like being crucified.
Yeah.
You guys remember that?
Yeah.
Like I was like,
of it.
Kurt Angle was at ECW that night, and
okay.
And as soon as it happened, he turned to them and he goes, "I don't want anybody to ever mention I was here. I will sue you." And he walked out. He was going to sign. He was going to sign with ECW, and he left as soon as they crucified. Which is funny because he went to WWE, and then fucking Undertaker did the same thing to Austin.
Yeah,
right.
Was this Neidhart one like post WWE run or like before that?
It was post.
So this isn't the holy shit.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, there's a video of it, but
I just remember him wearing like the hood. I can't remember the whole get up, but I remember distinctly.
He wore the whole thing. I watched it last night. It's the only reason I know about it. And he took it off, and he was wearing his regular pink and black thing, and he beat the shit out of Virgil, and him and his buddy hung him over the rope.
Wow,
that's awful.
Yeah.
Who comes up with these ideas?
So
that was like when Jim Cornette used to take New Jack and make him look like he was an actual like criminal gang member, and he would like threaten to like do things to people's daughters and stuff. Like Smoky Mountain was fucking crazy.
Cornette's crazy.
Yeah, Cornette, that's crazy.
Though it is his whole Hogan Lies thing is hilarious.
Yes. If you haven't, wrestling fans, you know what? You don't even need to be a wrestling fan. Look up the Jim Cornette Experience, and there's a Hulk Hogan episode where all they do is read Hulk Hogan stories that are just total bullshit, and each one is funnier than the last one. Like it just keeps it like they rounded it up perfectly to where like it just keeps getting funnier and funnier, like just the fucking nonsense that he makes up. So the WWE actually did Ninja Turtles as well, Yumper. They never got on TV, but they used to dress them up like Ninja Turtles and wrestle. They wore like backpacks. I don't know how they were wrestling with backpacks. Maybe they should talk to Orange Cassidy.
One of them was Dwayne Gill, I think.
Yep.
The Toxic Turtles.
Yeah, okay. It was it's probably Dwayne Gill in the Brooklyn Brawler, because that's what they did with Brooklyn Brawler. They just gave him everything.
That's almost as gimmick. Which one's more of a gimmick infringement, that or the Arachnaman in WCW?
So I just sent the picture to the chat.
Did somebody say Arachnaman?
Holy shit.
Yeah.
There's like a whole video of it on YouTube too. So, but yeah, Arachnaman. We're not even drafting Arachnaman, but I feel like we have to talk about him for a second here. They got sued by Stanley WCW.
Do they really?
Yeah, that's Brad Armstrong as Arachnaman, and they got sued, so they had to take him off the TV. He used to do the stance and everything when he'd go on the top rope and do like the Spidey thing.
WCW had a lot of those.
Yep.
Like how he like Glacier never got stricken from anything for Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat? Oh yeah.
Glacier was 73 of Goldberg's 160 wins.
Well, they promoted the shit out of it because Eric Bischoff had a boner for fucking ninjas and karate bullshit.
Yeah.
Because he was a legit karate like fighter before he got to AWA even. Eric Bischoff, but yeah, he was just so obsessed with ninjas and that fucking nonsense. But hey, you know what? It that whole thing gave Chris Kanyon a push, and that guy is one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen in my life. So,
we kept seeing Mortis pop up on worst gimmicks. I thought that gimmick was great.
That was a great fucking gimmick, and it was.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that.
Both him and Wrath were great, but yeah. Glacier just they oversaturated the shit out of him, and then when he got there, they're like, eh.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's a nice sweep kick. Like, I don't know.
Oh man.
Yeah, Sinister Minister, James Mitchell.
Snorting coke on
Snorting coke at the NWA shows. They lost their TV deal because of that.
Yeah.
All right, Shankster, your last two here.
All right. So the worst profession. Guy only was on WWE one time. He had one match from stories about burned down gorilla position, and then his gimmick was a magician, Fantasio.
I've ever seen pictures of that.
Yeah.
Was a magician, like stole the one match he stole his opponent and the referee's underwear. Bruce Pritchard
had a picture of him. I guess I didn't. Okay.
Yeah, Bruce Pritchard talks about him almost burning down backstage area because he was blowing fire, doing some shit, and he just about burned down that back there. Yeah, had one match on TV. Had one match on TV, and then he was done.
Never seen again.
Fantasio. Hopefully, I can spell it right. I think that's right.
I remember seeing that when that first came out, and then
they promoted it on Raw for a little bit, for a few weeks. They had like vignettes for it, and it was I think it was just like the mask on the floor with like a spotlight on it.
Vignettes have been like an Achilles heel for some wrestlers. Like, do you remember?
Glacier's a perfect example of that.
Yeah, like, or it's either you know too much or like things don't sync up. Like there was. Like Tennille Dashwood was still Emma, I think, and she was transforming from Emma to Emmalina, and it took a year, like almost a year, like every other week. Oh, she's turning next week. Oh, she's turning next week, and then finally she did, just for them to scrap the entire new like princess gimmick and then have her go back to being just regular Emma before promptly releasing her. And then they did the same thing with Veer Mahan, where Veer was near every week, and Lars is lurking for that Lars Sullivan character that never came back.
Apparently he was not on screen.
Well, and then on the other end of that, you have like Mr. Perfect. Those were the greatest vignettes ever.
$1 Million Man.
Razor Ramon too had really good ones. But yeah, those
are the three.
Carlitos were pretty good too, leading up to him.
Carlitos were phenomenal. Yeah, where he's eating an apple.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones like you said, the Razor Ramon, the Mr. Perfect, and the $1 Million Man are the three that I really.
Mm-hmm.
Another one that was bad that I just watched when we were talking about this was leading up to it was Outback Jack, about how bad
terrible wrestler. They actually made an action figure of Outback Jack, and he was there for like a month.
They promoted him. It basically was like promoting a jobber. Was all they did.
He didn't even know how to wrestle. Like he had no training at all. And they just brought him in because, like, oh, Crocodile Dundee's popular. Like,
yeah.
Jesus Christ, man.
Oh shit.
By the way, I love Emma. She's great. She's one of the best female wrestlers on the planet. She never gets any credit. So, very, very good. All right, you got your Ed Leslie, buddy.
Gotta go, Booty Man.
The
was
Booty
terrible.
Man.
Yeah, it was between him and was Zod. I don't want. Well, there's only one.
Well, there's only one left. Yeah.
Yeah, it was either him or Zodiac.
So that's Booty Man in the middle there. Yeah, when he turned on the Dungeon of Doom, he showed up with DDP's wife as the Booty Man.
Yeah.
And then he was the Booty Man for a while. He was there for like a year as the Booty Man, I believe. And then when Hogan turned, Ric Flair and everybody beat the shit out of him, and he disappeared, and he came back as a disciple. So.
Oh, dude. And it was so bad. All he really did was just like cut out his ass out of his regular tights. You know,
Right.
It was like
He basically was Brutus Beefcake, but without the shears.
Yeah,
exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a terrible dancer.
I think you had a guy who had a built-in gimmick. I mean, even if you didn't use the barber, just Brutus Beefcake. Why change it over all those years? You know, you had the same gimmick, but yeah, that guy went through so many. He went through. I don't know who went through more, him or Kevin Nash.
Yeah, Kevin Nash went through a lot.
Vinny Vegas,
Oz.
Master Blaster, Oz.
Yeah.
I've got
Oz is ridiculous.
So here's Oz. If anybody doesn't know what that is, Kevin Nash, who was one of the biggest wrestlers of the late 90s, they dressed him up as the all-powerful Oz. He wore like a rubber mask. Well, and that was him when he took it off.
Yeah.
Best gimmick was Super Shredder in Ninja Turtles 2.
Yeah, he was Super Shredder in the Secret of the Ooze.
His music played, the WCW Kevin Nash music played while this scene was going on in the background of that scene. It's so funny.
I never noticed that. All right, Dougie, worst gimmick match.
All right. So this was another one that was a huge toss-up. My 1-1 was Brawl for All. But I have another little obscure thing. The TNA Lockbox Challenge. I don't know if you guys are aware of this matchup or not, but it involved 8 women wrestlers. And when you pinned one of your opponents, you got a key to a lockbox. Okay, so 4 keys were given out after 4 pinfalls, and
I remember
there were 4 different things. So the current women's champion was there, and she actually won one of the keys. So the 4 prizes that you could get out of this box was 1, a tarantula, 2, the women's championship belt, an open contract, or you had to go into the ring and strip tease for the audience. So those were your 4 lockbox choices.
Was this early TNA?
It was early TNA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it like
they were trying to be
okay?
They were trying to be super edgy, like Attitude Era type style.
Vince Russo.
So yeah, so they go or whatever, and the first woman or whatever, she gets the spider. The second one gets the open contract, and then the third one, who was not the champion, opened it up and got the belt. So that's how the champion lost her belt via not picking the right box. Okay. And then the champion at the time had to go striptease. I believe that was the order of that. But needless to say, worst gimmick match ever, because the champion lost her belt just because she didn't pick the right key and right box. Terrible.
That's
Absolutely
great.
terrible.
That's fantastic storytelling.
Yeah, dude.
It's hard to believe that company's still open 20 years later.
Was that kind of the early rendition of the Feast or Fired kind of thing?
Those were okay. Those were okay. I thought that was kind of unique, but yeah,
I think
there's a fucking spider in the box.
Or it's back to,
tarantula. Yeah.
It's back to being TNA now, but I think that when TNA went to Impact, Anthem and Impact, everything that is now, is that they've been very fortunate to have the right amount of money change hands between people that do stuff for them for good or bad all throughout their entire run. I'm a little concerned with them now with getting rid of Scott D'Amore. I don't understand, other than the business angle, I guess, of it. But some of that stuff in TNA was awful, dude. Just so bad.
Yeah,
I think we did. I bought one pay-per-view of theirs, and it was the one where I think it was.
Please tell me it's the one where Jeff Hardy was fucking stoned out of his mind.
No, it was this. I remember it because I think it was America's Most Wanted, against maybe it was Team Canada, but it was when Elix Skipper was walking across the top of
Triple
the,
X. Yeah.
Okay, so when he was walking across,
That's an early one. That's That's
Yeah.
like one of their first like handful of pay-per-views. That's a good one.
But that's what I remember. Yeah, because I remember in the AMW was just they were awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I
James Storm is a great tag team wrestler. He had a couple of really good teams.
Beer Money.
Yeah.
Beer Money Inc. was a good one.
Yeah, TNA is fun, and then it wasn't fun when Hogan and Bischoff took over. And they had a couple of good ideas, but they didn't execute them right. And they gave all the creative juices to Wayne from the Wonder Years. And I wish I was kidding, but literally Jason Hervey was the executive producer of Impact Wrestling.
Kid from Back to the Future
for a number of years. Yeah, he was in Back to the Future.
Yeah.
It's TV. The show's brand new.
Yeah. You had 2 television sets.
I think it's like the worst gimmick matches that like I knew Brawl for All was going to be my one of one just of how recklessly stupid and you know how much it put talent at risk and stuff. But like even like the Punjabi prison match, which is just like you can't see anything going on at all. Even that
the visual of it was actually kind of cool. But yeah, it was.
Did you guys go to that one at the Allstate?
No.
No,
Yeah,
all I could hear is
I went to that one with him against Batista. It was fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Well, that guy couldn't wrestle at all.
Kali.
Yeah, Kali couldn't.
Yeah, great Kali.
Couldn't work.
So my one buddy does like he's like head of security at the Allstate. He said that the great Kali lit up the bathroom so bad before that match. He said that the backstage area smelled worse when he walked out of it than when they had like the circus there the week before and they had just all the animal shit piling up. Yes, they said that it was freaking rank. Yeah, they actually had to send somebody out to the Target across the street to try and find something to fumigate the backstage area.
That's phenomenal.
Known fact. Yeah.
That's absolutely phenomenal. All right. CPG, you still got your worst overall?
I think one of the worst gimmicks I've ever seen is Festus, which was Doc Galloway's first foray on WWE television. He was a mentally challenged individual at the start of the gimmick that only turned into an absolute raging monster after the bell rung. And if not, he would stand there and stoically stare off into space with his tongue out of his mouth, drooling everywhere, while this character, Jesse, who was his tag team partner, would talk about how corn-fed they were, and nothing interesting with either one of them ever happened.
My I was 35 when he's like 23 there.
Yeah. My favorite part is how they explained later on the character was that he had an alcoholism problem and CM Punk saved him.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was Punk, right?
Yeah, got him off the stuff.
But yeah, that's offensive. Like they've done a few. Like I mean, we could look at this guy.
Yeah,
there's another really offensive one too. But yeah, mentally handicapped. It's not a good gimmick.
That was wasn't that Terry Gordy's kid? Was he his partner?
Yeah, Ray Gordy. Yep. Terry Gordy was another terrible character as the executioner.
That was after his stroke or whatever he had on that plane, too.
Yep. All right, so Festus. That's a good one. That was on a lot of the lists I was looking at yesterday, and the video I watched yesterday was he was pretty high up there. He was like top 10, 12, something like that.
It's just so dumb.
It's offensive too. Like that's like if you notice, all 4 of our worst overall gimmicks, they're all offensive.
Yeah.
Like Vince McMahon offended everybody throughout his whole run as Mr. McMahon. And then we got a KKK member, a guy who's named after a Nazi plan, and then a guy that's
just out of curiosity, how I don't know if I do dumpless, but I was kind of surprised nobody took the Shockmaster.
I think that's it was too easy.
Yeah,
like the low hanging fruit.
You know, and we'll talk about the Shockmaster for sure in the dump list. Like you have to, you know.
Yeah.
But at Leslie gimmick, I am gonna go with I always thought it was funny before he became the Zodiac. He was the Butcher,
Yeah.
because he was the
God.
because he was the barber before he was the butcher. Like it was just so stupid and so
Yeah.
like it was like let's give him another vocational gimmick. And all he did was like slick his hair back and wear sunglasses, and he was the butcher all of a sudden. Like, he went from being Brother Brutai, which was Hulk Hogan's like sidekick, to being the butcher, and then he was Zodiac, Booty Man, Disciple. Like, what the fuck, man? He changed gimmicks like four or five times in like 2 years. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that one. I figure that's an easy one. Zodiac was terrible too, where he had like the alfalfa hair, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He wore like a random. Was it face paint or a mask? I can't remember.
I think it was face paint. wasn't it?
I believe it was face paint.
And they brought in the earthquake, and they called him the avalanche, and then they changed it
Shark,
to the
right?
shark. Well, he was the avalanche first, and then they changed it to the shark.
Yeah, the shark.
And then they shaved half of his head, and then he became John Tenta again, but he left half of his hair. So like this guy's going around. It's like it's a Tuesday, and you got to pick up groceries for the family. He's got half a head of shaved hair. He's fucking 400-pound dude just walking around with like half a head of like
6'8".
bald. Like he's completely bald on one side, and then like mostly bald on the other side, but like hair's coming up. Okay.
Dude, so the commitment to his character with that whole thing, because like I said, that was like his baby in the whole thing, and he kind of ran with it. He actually got his tattoo redone.
Yeah, it
for
went
that.
from a tiger to a shark.
Yeah, he had a cover up of his one tattoo so he could throw a shark on his arm. I was like, that is wild, man.
That's crazy.
That reminded me of the one dude that wasn't told to do it, and I can't remember his name offhand, but he actually dyed his teeth like green yellow. What was his name? And Vince absolutely loved it because he was like, oh shit, like he actually like is like selling a part, but he actually dyed his physical teeth. Fuck, I'm trying to think of the name.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that at all.
You gotta try and look it up now.
Fun fact about him, real quick. He's the only guy that ever stood up to Haku and lived. No, really, like they got into it in the locker room, like just to see who was tougher. Like it wasn't like they weren't like mad at each other. It wasn't like but they beat the shit out of each other, and he didn't budge. He's the only guy to ever get like knocked out by Haku. So he was a Yokozuna. He was a badass. So
you remember Snitsky or
Snitsky?
Yes.
It wasn't his fault.
Yeah, it wasn't his fault.
was
Yeah,
so bad.
he like legitimately dyed his teeth like greenish yellow to like fit the role.
He did anything they told him to do. He shaved off his hair, his eyebrows, his beard, and everything for a run in ECW. That it was just gross.
I think he was just grateful to have the gig. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'll do whatever you need me to do as long as I can stay on TV. As long as I can stay getting paid. These guys make,
nothing.
you know.
Yeah, some of his
Right.
his post wrestling interviews that he's done have been really good and insightful of like his like main motivation, like and how like when he had to kick that baby, he's like, I don't want to do this, but
Yeah.
all right,
I don't want to kick this baby. It wasn't a real baby.
Yeah.
All right. We want to get some dump lists together.
Oh,
Let's start with anybody have any matches they wanted to talk about?
The kennel, the
The one with the boss man.
boss man, kennel from hell or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, the Abdul the Butcher getting
That's-
shot.
Yep, I was just queuing. That's so funny. I was just queuing that up. So that was the Chamber of Horrors.
Yeah.
There's a steel cage match, and the goal is to put your opponent into a literal electrocution electric
Oh
chair
my god,
and electrocute your opponent. So we had that one.
Didn't he like just get up after that? Like he didn't like sell it.
Well, it went off. Like the handle didn't work. Like there was a handle on the wall, and it just kept flipping back and forth. So like it didn't even work to start it, and then it started like automatically, and like all these shocks are coming out the side. I mean, obviously not electrocuting him, but
Yeah.
Like how fucking silly is that shit?
The Bray Wyatt Randy Orton House of Horrors match was really stupid
Terrible.
and dumb because it was their kind of attempt to do kind of the Cardi compound matches and stuff, which are silly in their own right.
Was that when they set him on fire?
Or was that when the ring kept changing?
Or is that when they were?
That was him and Cena was the funhouse match but it was Orton wound up burning down Bray Wyatt's like shed at the end of it or leading up to it or some shit, and it was he'd walk through the house and then like either one of the Wyatt guys or Bray would come out of a dark corner and grab him and they'd fight in like a maggot infested kitchen or some shit. The child custody ladder match for Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah.
That was pretty bad.
That was awful.
Even like just the
what about this one?
Yeah, that was cool for TV. It was really bad in person.
Like the visual was cool. Yeah. Well, that was his last match, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
They did something like that at a house show I went to, or live event, I guess. Not like in February of that year, of last year, I guess.
It's weird. It was cool. I mean, like I said, the visual was cool, but yeah. I got a couple.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the King of the Road match?
They got fired for that, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dustin got fired. The other guy didn't.
Darso
I thought both of them did.
No, Darso got repackaged as the golfer guy.
Mr. Hole in One.
Yeah.
He had a couple good gimmicks.
He was the blacktop bully. No, because Dustin bladed, and they told him specifically, you cannot blade a moving vehicle. We will lose our insurance, and he did it anyway.
I thought both of them bladed. Maybe I'm wrong.
I know he didn't get fired. That's the one thing I definitely know. But yeah, Dustin most certainly got fired for that. And Dustin was probably on his way out anyway. When Hogan came in, they got rid of a lot of the young, good talent like him and Austin and, Pillman. They got rid of a lot of really good young. I mean, they kind of dodged a bullet with the Pillman shit, but and then I have the Hog Pen match. It was awful. There's Henry Godwin and Triple H, and this match was all just one big punishment for the
curtain call.
The curtain call, yeah. So, and then I see a lot of people like this match. I always thought this was fucking stupid. Buried Alive.
Yeah. Silly.
Come on. Like I know it's entertainment, not actual, like they're not actually killing someone, but like the simulation of killing someone on wrestling's kind of stupid.
Like Baron Corbin throwing Rey Mysterio and Malachi Black off the roof. Off the roof. And they somehow escaped.
That was fun to watch, but it was still stupid. That whole thing. The whole like fighting on the roof of Titan Towers.
Yeah. What about the TNA's reverse battle royal?
Yep.
Where it's not about getting thrown out, it's about getting in.
It never made sense. TNA had good ideas and bad ideas because like Ultimate X was brilliant. And I still don't know why other companies don't do that because I think that's pretty damn cool. But yeah, that was just awful. And then they have like the one where Monsters Ball where they lock them in a dark room and don't feed them for 48 hours before they wrestle. It's like, what the fuck is this?
PCO was great in that because he just stayed in the same position. He just stood there for 48 hours. It didn't take food or anything. He just stood there. So every time they cut to him, it's just him just standing there stoically waiting.
I remember Monty Brown was in one, and he was just like, He's in the back, and you're like, what's going on here? So yeah, those were my matches.
Yeah, so I had a few others. There was, I believe in 99 or 98, there was the Rock and Sock versus British Bulldog and Val Venus dog poop match. So basically, yeah.
I see. When I was reading that one the other day, I don't even remember that, honestly.
I remember that because he was going to give the people's elbow to the bulldog. He just like rolls off the poop. That's
Yeah, he was like, no.
So what was the
good.
point of that match exactly? What was the?
Well, see, that was the whole thing. And if I'm not, I could be remembering it wrong, but I thought like it was supposed to be like once you get slammed in it, it's over. But then it didn't end right there. But then The Rock didn't want to give him the people's elbow and basically just walked out of the ring, and the ring, it was over, if I remember it correctly. So it was a terrible match.
Was that Blue Jeans wearing British Bulldog era?
that was.
It was, yes. Yep.
He could barely get to the ring at that point. Like his back was so bad.
Right.
Another
one I
had
Ultimate
was Warrior, the Ultimate Warrior door. That's what he fucked up his back on.
Yeah.
I'm just not a big fan of, in general, lumberjack matches. I think they're completely useless. They do absolutely nothing for me. It's
the
just
only thing I remember of actual value out of that is it built the Mabel Diesel feud.
okay.
But that was, I mean, that was a terrible feud. But still, like that was like the only time they actually used a lumberjack match where that actually led to something.
Yeah, it just always seems like just a weird mesh of like heels and baby faces, and it's like, you know, like it usually just doesn't work, you know, for me.
Yep.
Another one was the WrestleMania back alley brawl with Piper and Goldust.
He gets run over by a car.
Gets run over by a car. Then they show the OJ chase scene, you know, and you're like, all right, you know.
Cameo by Jeff Conway from Greece.
Yeah, dude. It's just like all of those, like going back to what you were saying, the House of Horrors. Dude, they did that totally wrong. So they showed that House of Horrors when it was still daylight out, and they're like, we're going live, and it's pitch dark. Like guys, at least get your timing right. You know, you just showed, I think if I'm not mistaken, they were like either in St. Louis or somewhere, and they show like the downtown area like they always do, like we're live here and whatever. And it's light out, and then they go over there and it's like live from the House of Horrors, and it's pitch dark. It's like, get the fuck out of here. Like, can you guys just get that right?
I think there's
terrible.
Even the Boneyard match, I think, between Undertaker and AJ at Styles WrestleMania, I think it was called the Boneyard match. It was just like kind of dumb for the same reason. It was a Metallica music video for half of it, and it was just, all of these. I liked how people like they would randomly heal from injuries they just got because they were done in 2 separate takes and then meshed together later. Another one that I almost went for the gimmick match was Randy Orton and John Cena versus the entire Raw locker room, where pins were no longer a thing. If they just hit their finisher, they were knocked out cold and they rolled out of the ring and went to the back.
that's like something you see in like AAA or like one of the Mexican companies, because they never like they don't have tags and they don't have pins. It's funny.
So my one last one, and I actually almost took this one today. 1995 Halloween Havoc. It was Hulk Hogan versus the Giant, and it was a monster truck battle.
Yep.
Yes, on the roof, monster truck battle, which made absolutely no sense. Then ends up where they're like fighting towards the ledge of the roof, and Giant goes over. Hulk Hogan's like, oh my god, trying to catch him. Goes over the roof, and then what? Like a half hour, 45 minutes
wrestling.
later, they're wrestling. He walks out unscathed after falling off the roof to his potential death. And
Hogan came out like all black.
I remember reading about that match, or that whole night, and that whole thing happened was because they wanted to put the title on the Giant. And some sort of schmaz, like bullshit ending. But Hogan needed to get over at some point that evening, and they had like the new WCW monster trucks, so that's why they did the whole thing.
Wow.
12-year-old Baloney loved the monster truck match. So bad. Any other matches, guys?
I never thought
anything on a pole. I mean, it's just so dumb.
Yeah.
I don't know who it was earlier. It was a Yump said Viagra on a pole. I vaguely remember that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think like any match where like the consolation prize was a night with like one of the female wrestlers, or like I think that was one of the stipulation matches between Booker T and Kurt Angle at one point, was that if Kurt Angle won, he got a night with Charbel, and it's just like gross that this is what it's come to.
What was it?
Jamie Noble and Billy Gunn over spending a night with Tori Wilson.
That's really disgusting, actually.
Yeah, gross. Like,
the coal miner's glove, Sting, and
yeah, all the awesome matches they could have had, and it went on coal miner's glove.
You don't rig it to get something better.
Yeah, have a first blood match. Have the snake bite him, and that's how he gets bloody. Something like that. Like, what the fuck, man? Bill Watts was a moron. That was all Bill Watts, and then he stole all of Jake Roberts' money after that. All right, profession gimmicks. We got to talk about Duke Drosy for a second.
Yeah,
the good old dumpster.
The toilet plunger to the face.
Yeah,
is that him?
TL Hopper, baby.
No, that was TL Hopper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's my Halloween costume next year. I'm gonna be TL Hopper. We're gonna shave a horseshoe in my head, and I keep the.
What about you got Abe Knuckleball Schwartz queued up?
Yeah,
I didn't get a picture of him.
Oh
shit! Give me a second. Yeah, that one was fucking stupid. That was a Steve Lombardi. That was a Brooklyn Brawler.
Any of the I don't guess it's not profession. There he is.
That was about the same time the Goon came around. Like, they just felt the need to continue to keep doing shit like this.
Yeah.
So you got that.
You had the Repo Man.
You got Sparky Plug. It was Bob Holly.
Yeah.
That shit was stupid.
How do you it's got to be from a talent standpoint when you're handed this gimmick, be like, fuck, I got to wear a baseball painted on my face, and hopefully someone will like me enough to put me in the main event.
But yeah, you got to think the career he had though, Lombardi, from like 17, he was there from like early 80s till sometime in the 2000s.
Yep. He just stopped working for them, I think, like within the last handful of years.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And you mentioned Repo Man. Yes, of course.
Yeah, Repo Man.
What about that's not a profession.
Yeah, they everybody that's ever worked with Barry Darso says he's like the greatest guy ever. That's why they gave him they didn't really feel the need to keep him around, but they were like, "Oh, we'll just give you this gimmick." The only thing he ever did was steal the Macho Man's hat. Remember that?
I don't.
So, like, literally, he stole the Macho Man's hat, and the Macho Man beat the shit out of him. That's pretty much all the Repo Man did. He had the worst music ever. It was like, dude, Repo Man.
Yeah, Repo Man.
Repo Man.
I think before he was Typhoon, he was the dude was Tugboat, and it was just
there we go. I was just about to cue it.
Came out and just screamed every time he put his
Hey, I would argue that this is one of those that was a terrible gimmick that got over because he main evented a SummerSlam in that gear. He was Hulk Hogan's buddy.
Was it you were talking about Repo Man? I think it was at 17 that they had the gimmick battle royal.
Yep.
I think when he comes out, Mean Gene says he's like, last year he got my mother-in-law, and Heenan's response was 3 years ago everybody got your mother-in-law, or something something to that effect. It was like the perfect line.
Fucking Gene, and then obviously Tugboat became
the Shockmaster.
So let's cue into just worst overall gimmicks. We'll go with those for a bit here. For those of you that don't know what the Shockmaster, I think I'll explain it for a moment. So they brought this guy. So this is the same guy that's this guy. This is the same guy.
Yeah.
So these two are the same person.
Typhoon.
So WCW brought this guy in to team with Sting and the British Bulldog. So forget what happens on his debut for a second here. Let's look at this costume real quick. He looks like he's wearing, so that's like a furry vest and a pair of jeans, and he has like a white studded belt on, And then he's wearing a literal stormtrooper's helmet that has glitter all over it.
Yeah.
Did you think this was going to get over, wrestling fans?
Right out of the gates, one thing I want to point out is put a shirt on this dude. Because you know what? You've got the belt over this massive gut.
Right.
You know, like to me,
That's
it does
obviously not comfortable. Those and
That's
I
what I'm
got
saying.
a couple of bigger guys in the room here tonight. That's not comfortable, is it, guys?
No,
I can't even wear a belt. That's
dude. That's what I'm saying. Like,
so anyway,
he's not intimidating anything.
Right. So anyway, they come up with this grand idea to have him bust through the wall like the fucking Kool-Aid man. They test it in the pre-show and it goes great. They blow up the wall, they put these little charges around, make it look like it's exploding, and he walks through and everything's cool. So they rebuilt the wall, and for some fucking reason, they put a 2x4. I've seen Dusty Rhodes talk about this. They took a 2x4 and they put it like 18 inches up the wall. And then here's what happens. This is on a live show called Flair for the Gold.
Yeah.
So here's what happens. He fucking falls through the wall. The helmet comes off, and you know who he is then, obviously. You hear the bulldog go, "Oh my god, he fell!" Like you hear the.
I believe like the bulldog's exact words were something like he fell on his ass or he busted his ass or something, dude.
Yeah.
And then you hear Ric Flair go, "Oh no, oh no!" and then it gets even worse from there. He starts to point. He starts to point at the camera, and Ole Anderson has like the most over the top voice. He's like, "So, you want a piece of me? Come get me. I'm the Shankster.
I'm here to shock you."
What the and so then they just rolled with it at that point, and he became like the big tough guy that was a clumsy ox, and he'd always fall over, and he always so they kind of rolled with it. But yeah, let's watch that again. Boom. Boom. Down and to the right. So that's the Shockmaster.
Like with all the terrible, like there's been so many, and like the ones that are short-lived. Like I remember, Chavo Guerrero had transformed himself into Kerwin White, which was he basically renounced his Hispanic heritage, dyed his hair bleach blonde, and came out dressed like a golfer.
And he was a MAGA racist.
Yeah, and he was terrible. He feuded with the Mexicools, which if it wasn't for who was playing the Mexicools, it would be extremely, extremely terrible. And and his caddy was Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah,
and that's where Dolph Ziggler came from. Well, after the Spirit Squad.
Well, and if you watch those things over and over again, he says like racist things about like the black dude on the golf course.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like and this is what it was like 2005, 2008.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
it ended because Eddie died. It ended. Eddie died, and then they immediately were like, "We're not doing this." They pivoted right back to
we can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So keeping with the controversial worst overall, Joey Ryan and the penis suplex.
Yep. Well, and what happened to Joey Ryan too? Like it's almost as ironic as the Mr. McMahon stuff.
Yeah.
Eugene's really bad.
Yeah.
Eugene, that was Festus, but worse, I think, honestly. Like Festus was a terrible character, though. Like I agree, like that's a really good draft pick.
The only reason why I went with Festus and not Eugene is that Festus had Eugene's character was created just to absolutely suffer, where at least with Festus there was some sort of light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Eugene was never meant to be anything other than someone who is ridiculed, made fun of, exploited, and it's terrible.
The thing with that was it Nick Dinsmore was their top guy in OVW.
That guy could go, man. That guy was great in the ring. Yeah. And he was they turned him into a novelty act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Curryman
Curryman was
Christopher
character,
Daniels.
yeah, he got over too. That's what's funny. Like he was huge in Japan. And then in TNA, he actually like that character got over, which was kind of silly.
I think Christopher Daniels is fighting Curryman at one of the GCWs that's coming up.
Curryman used to team up with Shark Boy all the time, and that was like an awesome tag team. When Shark Boy used to talk like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Had the vest.
Yep. All right, we got Arachna Man. We already talked about him. I'm going through the pictures I have because I have a lot.
What about the Misfits in action?
That General Huge Erection, yes.
Yeah,
GI Bro.
Erection.
It's pretty bad. This is actually Yumper's pick for worst overall gimmick on his list. That was Beaver Cleavage.
Saw that guy I saw that gimmick at debut.
I met him at an indie show. He's the nicest dude ever.
Right? Thrasher and Mosh, he's one of them, isn't he?
Yes, Mosh, yeah. He was like the other guy was kind of like, I saw them as the headbangers at an indie, like, I don't know, it was like 10 years ago. He was so nice, and the other guy was just didn't want to be there. They took a really cool picture, and I need to find it. They took a picture where they're both choking me, and it was really cool. But next one, we got Damien Demento.
Guy main evented a Raw with the Undertaker.
The very first episode of Raw. Yeah. And then you take a guy with a great gimmick like the One Man Gang, and you want to make fun of Dusty Rhodes, so you make Akeem the African Dream.
Dude, I don't care. His entrance song still goes.
Jive Soul Bro.
Yeah.
Hell yeah!
There's another terrible gimmick with Slick. What was Slick supposed to be? A reverend or a pimp?
Pimp originally, I believe, and then he came back as a reverend.
Kind of random. The Ding Dongs. Worst tag team gimmick ever.
Pretty bad.
For those that don't know, these guys were in WCW, obviously, by the image here. I don't know what the gimmick was exactly supposed to be, but they kept a ring, like a bell in the corner, like mounted to the turnbuckle, and they'd ring the bell. Whichever one was out on the apron would ring the bell while the other one wrestled.
Oh my God.
This is a Bill Watts right here.
So dumb.
And then, we talked about Lasertron in the pre-show. I don't know if you had gotten here yet, CPG, but this is Hector Guerrero as Lasertron. Man Mountain Rock. He was phenomenal in WCW as Max Payne. Really, really good.
I haven't seen that in forever. Shit.
And then we got Max Moon. Now this picture is when Paul Diamond was Max Moon.
I was gonna say, which Max Moon? Paul Diamond.
Yeah,
or Conan?
This is the Paul Diamond, which was the second one. The original one was Conan. So,
Paul Diamond, part of the Orient Express.
Yep. And Conan pissed everybody off in the locker room. He was kind of a dick, so he left, and that's when they gave it to Paul Diamond. He used to have like, from what I understand, he used to have like all this gear on his arms. Like they spent like $20,000 like building these like guns and shit to come out of his arms, and like he was supposed to be like almost like a transformer.
Right.
Terrible gimmick that kind of worked. Let's go with
Papa Shango.
We got Papa Shango. There's another. We could have had a Charles Wright gimmick.
True.
Oh yeah.
Section in this draft.
Soul Taker. This one, the
the Supreme Fighting Machine, Kama Mustafa, the Godfather, the Good Father.
Right to Censor. I mean, that was crazy. I remember because like Val Venus was in Right to Censor, I think, at one point. Didn't they turn him?
Ivory.
Well, and that was after Val Venus and the Godfather were a tag team for a while called Supply and Demand.
Yeah,
so brilliant. They should have kept that going. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Here's number one on a lot of lists that I looked at.
Mantar.
That's Mick Foley's most hated gimmick too. Mick Foley said Mantar is the worst gimmick ever. He remembers watching it on TV, going, "How the fuck can I get on TV?" And you got this guy. So,
what about same time frame? Friar Ferguson.
Bastion Booger. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Bastion Booger.
So Friar Ferguson got they had to get rid of that gimmick because the Catholic Church bitched about it.
Really?
Funny. Yeah, and that's how that's why they created Bastion Booger. They made it even more offensive.
Yeah.
The one that I think gimmick that got over again was the commitment was Honky Tonk Man, because I think if you give that to a lot of people, they don't embrace that like he did. I mean, he still does live that gimmick. I mean, he's still got that sideburns in the hair.
Yeah,
Guy's nuts.
30 years later.
He actually got the only reason he got signed by the WWF was because Hogan like begged Vince McMahon to sign him. Then he became
as a baby face too.
Yep. That was kind of weird.
Yeah. No reaction from the crowd.
Right. He only worked as a heel. We got PN News, the rap master. He didn't rap, by the way.
Yeah.
He never rapped. And he was a big dude. He was like agile, but he was a terrible wrestler. It was like watching the Funkasaurus wrestle. Another bad
Oh
gimmick.
yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah.
Wait, just as a general, Tyrus as a gimmick. Is that right? Is that you're talking about Tyrus?
Yeah.
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 And then we talk about
Do-rag.
Seven for a second.
Do-rag Vince.
We got Waylon Mercy. These are just the ones I grabbed, and I saved my favorite two for the last two here. We got Yoshi Kwan, who was Chris Champion, and they just gave him like bigger eyebrows to make him look Asian, and he dressed up like Bruce Lee, because he wore like the white socks with like the little black shoes, and he wore like black pants, like Dragon
like,
Bruce Lee, basically.
That looks like is it Show Enough from that looks like
Kiss my Converse.
yeah, Show Enough from Last Dragon.
And then I have two graphics for my favorite. Now I got heated, and that's why I took the Ultimate Solution. This is the worst gimmick of all time.
Yeti.
Yeah.
No, it's not the Yeti. It's not the Yeti. What is it? What did Tony Schiavone call him? The Yeti. And then all he did, he made one appearance. He came to the ring, and him and the Giant humped Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
So he's a Yeti, which is a abominable snowman, basically.
Right. Yeah.
Why is he a fucking mummy?
Wasn't that
It was Ron Reese.
Yeah, the wall, right?
Yeah.
Or no?
No. Ron, big Ron Studd, Big John Studd's son.
Oh, okay. He was Reese with the flock, right?
Right. Reese was in the flock, and now this guy ended up doing this gimmick this one time, and he never came back. And then a month later at World War III, he was dressed as a ninja, and they called him the Mega Giant Ninja or something like that. And he didn't know karate or kick or anything like that. He was just like an 8-foot tall dude that I don't know. I'm gonna leave this video on. We'll just keep watching him. What is he doing?
He's obviously plugging in.
Where are the Giants' hands as opposed to? Whoa!
Yeah.
He's trying to feed it.
Yeah.
Come on, put it in. I got him.
Teamwork is dream work. I actually have one.
Good one,
Mike
bud.
Awesome as a fat chick.
70s guy.
That 70s, yeah. Mike Awesome was amazing in the ring. Like
he was awesome, but man, they killed him with the whole chubby chaser role, dude. It was pretty bad.
I saw him win the ECW championship live.
Odium?
At the Odeon.
Yeah.
It was a good show.
That's a perfect way to describe that video, Baloney, with Lazy Eiffel Tower.
Eiffel Tower. Oh boy.
But yeah, I mean, but they also killed Sandman with his hardcore hack and that Rich Kid Raven gimmick thing.
I thought the Raven gimmick was good in WCW, man. They just didn't have the creative to keep going with. I don't know. And then, like, next thing you know, there's like 32 dudes following him to the ring, and it's like
Scotty Riggs giving people the clap.
you had that guy named Sick Boy. They never let do anything, and he was like one of the most talented wrestlers on the planet, and he never got to really wrestle. Like, that guy was awesome.
Oh, shit.
He had a really good Raven had a good run with DDP. That was a good feud. But yeah. Stevie Richards is dancing Stevie Richards in WCW, and he never danced.
What about speaking of dances, what was it, a 3 count? Is that what they were called?
Yeah.
Well, that was Shane Helms and
Evan Courageous.
Hurricane Helms. And then Shannon Moore, I think, right?
Shannon Moore, yep, and then Tank Abbott.
And then Tank Abbott was obsessed with them. That I always thought that was funny, but
yeah,
Tank Abbott in WCW didn't work.
Yeah,
no.
Especially when Rick Steiner knocked his ass silly.
Another bad one was Berlin.
Yep, that's so funny. Yumper said Alex Wright just as you were saying that. Alex Wright could go, man. That guy was really good. I don't think you could come over here from Europe and be a professional wrestler and not be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Can you think of somebody that came from England or Germany or
Ludwig Borga?
Good one.
Another
I stand corrected.
Huge racist.
That guy was a horrible person. Yes.
He was.
Absolutely horrible human being. I think they did they're doing a Dark Side of the Ring on him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he became like a huge politician.
He had like a Nazi tattoo on him somewhere. I think.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, he was a terrible person. But a person of influence in Denmark, where the fuck?
Something like that. Yeah.
Wherever the fuck he was from, Sweden.
Durag Vince was pretty bad. You got him dropping racial slurs on TV, and like just absolutely for no reason punishing Bobby Lashley, and like all kinds of terrible things. The interaction with Cena, I remember being like, I can't believe that was on TV.
I'm still amazed Lashley came back after all that bullshit.
Oh yeah.
So gimmick that worked. More terrible gimmick that worked. Would you say Disco Inferno?
Yeah, because that definitely withstood like.
Not if you ask Cody Rhodes.
I mean, he's a dick. You got to put that to the side. Like, he's not a good person, but yeah. And then after Waltman left WCW, he became like Scott Hall's drinking kick around buddy. And that got him over even more for a bit there. I mean, they put him in the Wolf Pack.
That's right. Everybody was in that though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're doing terrible gimmicks that got over, right?
Yeah. If you have any other in mind,
Shark
yeah.
Boy.
Shark Boy's a good
dude. Moppy, Perry Saturn.
Oh yeah.
That got over so big.
I love Perry Saturn, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another one that I had on the list was the List of Jericho. That got over pretty hard, and that was supposed to be kind of just like
silly.
A little stupid thing. Yeah, became a whole big thing.
Even the dashing Cody Rhodes, where he was like, he'd come out there and he'd be like, I have been transformed in this absolute disgusting creature. And he's wearing like a mask you can see through and there's no damage on him at all whatsoever. And like, it's so stupid and shouldn't have worked, but it's so funny because he like that small detail of not being able to see the being able to see his face or whatever just made it that much funnier.
Yeah. Right.
This is a good one from Yumper. That's Mohammed Hassan.
Oh yeah, that was
Italian. He was an Italian guy that played a Muslim terrorist.
Well, you want to? Well, we're on Italians who play some. They're not. Chief J Strongbow being an Italian guy playing in India.
Hey, everybody in wrestling history that played a Russian.
Yeah. All from
Ivan Koloff was from Canada, and Nikita Koloff was from like
Minnesota.
North Carolina or Minnesota.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Barry
Yokozuna.
Darso.
Yeah, Barry Darso was Killer Khrushchev. Yeah.
Another one.
Turning a Heidenreich into a fucking Road Warrior. That I never thought that was gonna actually get there. It's so bad because the Heidenreich character itself is terrible.
Well, he couldn't work. Like he was terrible in the ring.
Yeah, and I don't know how they were able to get that to where, like, one, they got, Laurinaitis to agree to it, and then two, like, to actually do it, and they got over with that, which is crazy.
Yeah.
More recent gimmick, Damian Mizdow. That
guy's
for
just
me
a
was
talented dude.
Yeah,
That was
dude, it was
hilarious.
just it was, man. His stunt double, I mean, it was just gold, man. I mean, like, he's basically outside the ring fighting nobody, like
that was just gold.
Oh yeah.
But,
Yeah, I thought he would go on to bigger and better things, and then he just didn't. I think he still works for Billy Corgan.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or even like a Judgment Day. Like Judgment Day and Inception was awful. Especially when they got rid of Edge. When they got rid of Edge, it's like, okay, what is this supposed to be then? And then it wound up just being like a bunch of dorks trying to be the NWO, and then they added Rhea Ripley, and then it was like over. Then,
Well, and you got to give Dominic some credit
Yeah.
too. I know I've been bashing that guy for years, and he really helped get that whole thing over. Yeah.
I've never.
But yeah,
heard,
Rhea was the
booed like that.
spark plug for sure.
Yeah, like I've never seen someone get booed like that. Like it's deafening. The guy, he can't even say anything, and he's getting booed even for just showing up. It's insane.
If he gets a little bit bigger, he can be a superstar. It kills me to say that, honestly, because I'm still like, but that guy could run. That guy could be the top heel in the business if he's got to get a little bigger though.
Yeah, and he needs to put down the 619 because that's an accident waiting to happen because he just gets that body in motion and it's like limp dick right over the ropes, like.
How is he so tall too, man? Rey Mysterio's like 2 feet tall.
It's all of Eddie Guerrero's team.
Eddie Guerrero wasn't tall either.
Speaking of bad matches, this gimmick match there with custody of Dominic.
Yep.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Dominic on a pole. I have a couple of lists real quick. Our guy Baloney. Put the Mexicools as I don't care about the racial insensitivity. Their lawnmowers were shitty. Terrible gimmick got over. Santino Marella. That's a great one.
Yeah, that's a really good pick.
Profession gimmick. Mountie. Yeah, fuck Canada. I agree. The man with no name. Worst gimmick match. I agree with that one too. That was terrible. It was Kenny Omega and Moxley in the
Exploding death match.
Yeah.
Where nothing happened, but somehow Eddie Kingston was still concussed after it.
Oh god! And then Yumper gave us a list, and I already mentioned Beaver Cleavage. And then he got over Damien Sandow. So, profession gimmick. This is a great list. Judy Bagwell on a pole. Disco Duck for worst prop. I don't even remember that honestly that much. That was Disco Inferno brought a duck to the ring. Was that right?
I have no idea.
I don't even really remember all of that. I kind of checked out for a while there on wrestling at that point.
There's another one, like we said, the worst overall when you did this Slaughter gimmick back in 91, 92 with the Iraqi sympathizer. Another bad one.
Hey man, that killed that company so bad they had to move WrestleMania into like a shitty little arena from the Coliseum. Yeah.
Safety reasons, my ass.
Yeah. They said it was because he was getting death threats.
Wasn't it the same night as like the war? Literally, the war started. It was like it was like a Royal Rumble or something when he won the title.
No, the war had already started, but I think it started ramping up more.
when the USA joined or something. I thought it was something like that, but yeah, that was another terrible gimmick.
I'm gonna put that back
Yeah,
on.
burning the flag.
The zombie on the inaugural episode of ECW on Sci-Fi who just came out and moaned into a microphone and then was immediately just had his head taken off by a kendo stick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sandman killed that guy. That whole
Yeah.
that like I would say the entire WWE-ification of ECW was a bad gimmick. Like the whole thing. You had Kelly trying to strip every 5 minutes, and
That was okay.
like Mike Knox was in there all the time. And like I'm like, I don't buy that. And then you had what's his name as a vampire.
Oh yeah, it was Kevin Thorne.
Kevin Thorne, yeah.
They had a couple. What was his other one? Was it
Mordecai?
Mordecai, thank you.
That was a terrible gimmick. Basically the white Undertaker.
He was going to purify everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, awful.
Another gimmick that got over. Speaking of Gangrel, another gimmick that got over.
Yeah.
That was all based on his entrance. If he didn't have that entrance, he wouldn't have gotten anywhere.
Yeah.
That whole like rising up from the
the music, everything worked for that.
Oh, the music's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got introduced to Christian through that. Edge had already debuted, but Christian came in.
Right.
But, all right. Well, God damn it, this was a hell of an episode, guys.
It was fun.
Good time.
I always love talking wrestling, so anytime you guys want to do a wrestling one, just tell me. This is the topic where I literally I don't have to do any research at all. Like I'm such a dork for it that it just all shoots out of my brain. At least until I lose my mind at some point, which is going to happen. But still got a few years. But yeah, anytime you guys want to come on and do a wrestling one, definitely let me know. Dougie, do you have anything you want to plug?
So I am 1/4 of the Chicago Sports Bums. We got a Monday night podcast at 9:00 on the YouTubes.
It's 8 o'clock now.
Oh yeah, fuck, dude, it's so ingrained in my brain. Thank you. Yeah, 8 o'clock starting now. I better show up on time tomorrow. Shit. But yeah,
right on. And then opening day, you guys are doing tailgate.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing our whiskey at Comiskey's. And actually, a little spoiler alert, tomorrow we're going to be announcing all of them. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah, so
those are the only games I'm going to go to this year.
I am with you. I believe the well, I mean, they already said, but one of the games is the Cubs game on Saturday night. I think that night, because I am not a big fan of going to those games, I will probably tailgate and leave.
You and I can just hang out in the parking lot all game.
That sounds good to me.
I'm going to be up in Chicago for that weekend, so I'm trying to go to that game. That Saturday was August 10th, I think.
Cool.
Yeah. Dude, you got to swing by the tailgate, man.
Hell
definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Right on. CPG, you got anything you're working on for the blog? Or
I've got some stuff coming up as we get closer and closer to WrestleMania. Please read the Cody's Road to WrestleMania article. Good. That's pretty much recaps everything that he's done since returning to WWE from WrestleMania 38 to a couple weeks ago.
Sweet.
Very cool.
Right on. Then WrestleMania. What date is WrestleMania? 6th?
6th and 7th?
6th and 7th. Okay. So we still got about 6 weeks. It's been interesting to say the least with The Rock and all that bullshit.
Yeah, we'll see where that goes.
Right. We'll have to all hang out for WrestleMania. All right. Well, we're wrapping up here. I'll be back next weekend. I'll keep an eye on the show's Twitter account at Getting Drafty Pod. I will announce what the next episode's going to be, what the topic's going to be. I'm actually working on a couple of different ones right now. Throughout the month of March, I'm going to be doing pretty much just baseball drafts. So I have a couple lined up, one of which is going to be with Josh Nelson and Herb Lawrence again, like I did last year. So that'll be a fun one. I got Mitch Kaminsky coming on from Pinwheels and Ivy and Sports Mockery. So that'll be good. So yeah, that's it. We'll wrap up episode 37. Thank you, Shankster. Thanks, Dougie. Thanks, CPG, for being on.
Thank you.
And we
yeah.
are out of here. Thanks a lot, guys.